right, everybody. Welcome back to the Purple Podcast. This is episode 8 now. It's Christmas night, but we're still getting it out to you all. And also tonight I'm joined by some special guests. Once again, as I, so often do have on here and enjoy having on here. Tonight, we have my dad, Bruce Izard.
Good evening, everyone. Merry Christmas.
And to his right, or to his left, we have Griffin Fletcher back on for a second appearance.
Happy to be here. Merry Christmas.
All right, so we'll kind of start moving into this a bit here. We've said our Merry Christmases. We hope you had a great one tonight and everything with your family. We'll see if we're going to get it out tonight. We'll see where it goes. Maybe it'll be coming to you tomorrow. Either way, we got a good one coming to you tonight here. We will be looking into the all-time great movie, It's a Wonderful Life. It's going to be a fun one. The movie's from 1946, so it's an old one. It came at number 1 on my favorite Christmas movie list. And aside from that, in its own right, it is a great movie outside of just Christmas movies. So if you don't know the movie, you're probably not listening anyways. We're going to assume that you have seen the movie and everything here. But to get going, we'll do a little summary of the movie here. George Bailey has spent his entire life giving of himself to the people of Bedford Falls. He has always longed to travel but never had the opportunity in order to prevent rich skinflint Mr. Potter from taking over the entire town. All that prevents him from doing so is George's modest building and loan company, which was founded by his generous father. But on Christmas Eve, George's Uncle Billy loses the business's $8,000 while intending to deposit it in the bank. Potter finds the misplaced money and hides it from Billy. When the bank examiner discovers the shortage later that night, George realizes that he will be held responsible and sent to jail, and the company will collapse, finally allowing Potter to take over the town. Thinking of his wife, their young children, and others he loves, will be better off with them dead. He contemplates suicide. But the prayers of his loved ones result in a gentle angel named Clarence coming to earth to help George, with the promise of earning his wings. He shows George what things would have been like if he had never been born. So starting out there, that's a pretty rich plot line there and everything. Absolutely love that. The story is great. There's a reason the movie stands the test of time in that terms. And before we kind of dive into, we have some categories for the movie, things like favorite scenes and all of that. But before that, I kind of want to touch on just the moment in time. So this is 1946, and a movie that old, a lot of people, like I've said before, gets turned off by it. But crazy time to think that just a year prior of this movie being released, World War II ended. It's pretty bizarre in its own right. I have some fun facts kind of as well about the time. So something like the average cost of a new home would have been $5,600 then. Average wages per year, $2,500. So when Potter offers $20,000 to George, it's quite a bit of an increase.
Right.
Cost of a gallon of gas, we're all feeling this one a little more today. 15 cents.
Wow.
So unbelievable there.
What were like White Castle burgers back then? Have you ever heard those things?
Griff, I don't think White Castles were invented then.
Were they not?
I think they might have been. Let's see. Let's test
Just
that
chiming
one.
in there.
Chiming in. Hey, Green.
Let's see when White Castle
Might
began.
had a Braunschweiger and cheese back then.
Dad, you are incredibly wrong.
Oh, wow.
White Castle began March 1921, so it had a good 25 years under its belt at this point.
Oh,
I
there we
didn't see
go.
any in Bedford Falls that were. So.
That's right, because it was Potter House. Bad joke. Bad joke there. Also, some famous people born this year: Tommy Lee Jones, infamous Ted Bundy, George W. Bush, Jimmy Buffett, let's see, Barry Gibb, Steven Spielberg, Sylvester Stallone, and Donald Trump. How about that?
Wow.
Quite a group
Trump.
there.
Give it a shout out.
The microwave oven was also created that year. What else we got? We got B.B. King's musical career. So he's Stand By Me, right? Is that B.B. King? That's Ben E. King.
Yeah, that's my say.
Different.
Blues guitar.
Blues guitar.
King.
Well, anyways, enough with the history on it and everything. I want to touch on a bit of everyone's personal connection with this movie. I know, Griffin, you said you haven't really began watch. You didn't start watching this movie until relatively recently.
Yeah, it was. I had already been in college. I think might have been just 3-4 years ago at the most. But I will say this: like pretty much immediately once I started watching it, it became pretty obvious to me why it is a favorite. It just has so much charm, and I think I think you're probably going to talk about it, but the charm of actually it being an old movie really suits in this instance. You know, I think it's kind of easy for maybe an older movie to feel outdated, but this one, the spirit of it is just so relevant and
well, the themes still resonate true today. You know, it's whatever shape or form, it doesn't matter the year. People come across some difficult times like this monetarily, when you feel like, you know, what the hell? What if I wasn't even here? And obviously, he gets to the point where he thinks it'd be better without him. But we'll touch on that a bit more in that terms. Also, this is your second Christmas with us, so happy to have you back, man. I'm happy to be doing this, you know?
I'm so happy.
Yeah, we watched It's a Wonderful Life last year as well. It's our tradition. Every Christmas Eve, it's the movie that we put on, and it really sets the tone. It really makes you feel,
feeling just grateful for being here.
It's
Seriously.
a very feel-good movie, and it makes you, you know, aware that in the end, you know, you are you never fully understand the scale of what you've done in life, what you have contributed positively to other people's lives, and I think that's one of the coolest things this movie does is literally show you, you know, how everything has a domino effect. If this thing doesn't happen, that doesn't happen. And
well, I don't know how you guys, like, I know that when I was watching last night and I kind of heard that idea, I was definitely thinking like, wow, like if I replayed my life right now and started thinking about maybe what it would be like if I hadn't been here, you kind of start making that like kind of personal connection.
Absolutely. You just wonder. You think about what's that butterfly effect. That's it.
Yeah.
Like one person being gone changes the lives of thousands, if not 100,000s, in that terms. So, Dad, what about you? You got a little more age under you.
Well, yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thanks for letting me chime in here, boys. Yeah, this has been a movie that your mom and I have watched over the years. And, of course, when you guys were younger, kind of didn't really get into it, you know.
Not as much, no.
No, but Mom and I made it kind of, you know, every Christmas Eve when you guys were done with the presents and stuff like that.
Christmas Eve was before the presents.
Well, Christmas Day.
Well, that's where we find ourselves today.
That's where we are today. Hell, I'd watch it again tonight.
Christmas
Yeah, I
Day,
know.
but it's gone kind of back and forth over the years, depending on how you guys acted and if you were pissing your bed or whatever, and they would put you to bed early.
Yeah.
But you know, we would always stay up and make it a point to watch this movie. It's a good feel movie.
So when did you begin watching it? What's your when did you kind of, was it one that you grew up with? I mean, it's an older movie,
Yeah,
so
no,
I mean, it's older
but-
than you, so.
Yeah, it is. But you know, with Dad, we never, you know, I don't think we really came to find this movie to when me and your mom met. I mean, I didn't see this growing up, of course, but
So you kind of have a newer relationship with it as well.
It's kind of a newer relationship with the movie. I mean, to this day, I mean, when your mom and I first met, not going back into the old school, but we loved the movie the first time we saw it, and we went out when we were first living together and got married, bought, what we have displayed on our mantle, the houses of the Potter House and the Bailey and Lone House, and we display it every year, and it was very important to us for some reason at that point.
It's a really cool decoration. It's not your typical, like reefs and lights. It's
lights. It's got the ambience. It's got the house, the old structure. It's got the drugstore, and we've made it a point for whatever reason. You guys kind of always liked that growing up, and we always put it out, and it's there tonight on the mantle. And it's just a movie that always just has a good ending.
It makes you outside of, you can look at this as a Christmas movie. Of course it is. But this is a movie that is, it could be good at any point of the year. It outside of the fact that it's Christmas, which is honestly a minute detail of the whole entire movie in itself. It just happens to be. That's why you get airplane mode on. But
I'm sorry, the Nets and Lakers are about to tip off.
There it is. Man, it's funny you say that though about. Do you feel like it's a minute detail? I kind of feel like that's like.
Well, it contributes to the fact that this is supposed to be this familial time around the holidays and gearing up for Christmas, and it's this jolly, jolly time. But George is at his worst moment and forgets all of those things despite it being around him. His daughter's playing the piano. They're getting in the spirit. His wife
actively rejects some of those connections and those
exactly.
moments.
So he's so lost at this point that he fails to even realize those things and ultimately believes that he's better off not even being
It's about
there.
a story of a man that's done so much and thinks that he would be better off dead, to benefit the future of his family, which is
Because
he finds the truth is not true.
Yeah, because George, in his own kind of story, he always wants to get out of Bedford Falls. He has no intention of staying there. He constantly...
Just something you just said reminded me, Uncle Bruce had a great moment last night where when George is in that scene with, it's so terrible, I can't think of her name.
His wife, Mary.
Yeah. Mary, when he's at her house.
Which is Donna Reed. That was her first leading role as an actress in that movie.
How about that?
By the way, yes.
But it was funny. We were kind of like, George, why are you being such a jerk? Like, why are you? Oh my God, why is he doing that? And Uncle Bruce, you're just kind of like very coolly. You're like, it's because he knows he's gonna fall in love with her. And he's gonna be stuck in Bedford Falls, and it just hit me so hard when you say it was like, oh, that's why.
There's so many different things that come up in his life to where his dad has a stroke. He's gonna go to college. Nope. Ooh. He sends Harry to college, like things like that. He's not getting out another time. He's going to go on his honeymoon. So I guess let's start kind of transitioning into the categories with that before we get too into scenes specifically, because this first category here is the I love that part.
Ooh.
Basically, this is your favorite scene in the movie. I have a few that I had thought of. I want to hear some of the ones that you have in your mind as well. So the first one I really like how the movie begins showing George as a little kid. I think it's really cool. I've always liked that scene where he saves his brother out of the ice. You begin to, I guess you understand then he has that hearing problem, which I guess they touch on it in the beginning, but is a smaller factor. It's just a part of who he is, I guess, in the end. But I think
that's up, I guess, a couple times. But
that's really cool. And then you see, with that scene, you see him working at the drugstore with Mr. Gower, who just had figured out his son was dead and was drunk as piss, essentially, and about gave someone poison. You also are introduced to Mary, and that love affair begins as well. I like when she reaches over to him in that point and asks, she says that thing about his ear. She says, is this the ear you can't hear on? And basically he doesn't respond and then goes, George Bailey, I'll love you till the day I die. I think that's a really sweet scene.
Good
See
scene,
that? It's
yes.
very, very
Yeah.
cool. Where you begin to see two things that those are two people that he's had a profound effect on throughout his life. As we see later, because, Mr. Gower, we see that when he didn't exist, when George never existed, he poisoned a little kid or something and was a drunk. While in current day, real time, he was a upstanding citizen of the.
And I thought it was always cool because you could tell he just had George's back so much.
Well, yeah, well,
in
because
the
he
actual timeline.
whacks him in his ear. He starts bleeding out his ear. I always thought that
yeah.
was so brutal.
That's a brutal scene.
But then
It
he
really
realized
is.
he realizes what he done, and hugs and embraces George because he knows he literally just changed his life in that moment.
Oh gosh.
Boom.
Dad's
Bass
making
is
all
good.
kinds of noises over there.
No, that's a good scene. I mean, it's very climactic. It's a very transitional part of the movie. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
And then I like next, moving on another scene, the dance scene when I guess George had been graduated from high school for a couple years. It was his brother Harry's. I guess what would it even been like graduation
was like
party? I think it was a
senior
graduation party, and that whole dance scene. I think that's really fun.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of those moments where you see the age of this movie for sure.
Yeah. What is that, like a Charleston competition they start doing? They start dancing.
They start dancing. You got that full big band up there playing the music and everything. You got a dance floor that ends up falling or pulling apart. Everyone jumps in the pool. I think it's a really fun scene. And then you have George and Mary, another aspect of the relationship, a very deep aspect where they see their future home. They throw the rocks through the windows.
Yeah.
And what'd she say? It's lasso the moon quote is really good.
all right. I want to chime in here on some fun tips about that. The swimming pool scene.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Yeah.
The gentleman that goes up to the guy and gives him the key to unlock the swimming pool to come across. That was actually the actor that played Alfalfa in The Little Rascals in the 1920s.
Yikes.
Don't know if y'all knew that. Sad fact about that, 15 years later, he was shot and killed by a best friend over a gambling debt.
Dark.
So Alfalfa played that role in the movie. And actually, that was filmed at Beverly Hills High School.
Whoa.
One of the first high schools to have a retractable swimming pool.
Oh.
So that's pretty cool. And the movie was actually filmed out in Reno, California, where there was a big heat wave and the actors were sweating for like 3 months through the whole movie.
It contributes to
Wow.
George
Which is
Bailey's
kinda cool.
demise and his kind of falling out because you see him sweating. He almost looks strung out, like he's so distressed. He's in such a
Right.
very
Another kind of fact about that, the actual character for George Bailey was actually presented to Cary Grant. I know I'm going back way days for you young fellows out here and women listening. Mm-hmm. But Jimmy Stewart wasn't the first person cast for the movie. It was Cary Grant.
Well, it was actually his first movie following the war, which James Stewart he's a veteran. He enlisted in the army, and everything.
Really?
So yeah, this was his first movie as well as the director's first movie back after the war, which is crazy to think about in itself in its own right. I'm not sure how much frontline action he had, but I know he had a desire to at least. But he ended up going all the way up to like colonel or something. So he was
Jimmy Stewart did.
yeah.
Wow.
Right, but the movie flopped when it came out. They actually sold it. The writer actually sold it out. No one picked it up when he put the screen strip out. But he sent out like 30 Christmas cards with a 21-page movie script. And Frank Capra picked it up
Wow.
and actually sold it to him for $10,000.
So you're saying just like the actual story. This is a book actually.
Right.
So the book is The Greatest Gift by Philip Van Dorenstern.
When was that written?
Let's see, The Greatest Gift. 1944 was when it was published, so really not far before. Damn, they loved that book. They already
must
they
have.
picked up a
But as a
movie.
movie script, it failed. No one picked it up. And Frank Capra picked it up. But the writer, let me see if I can find his name back here. I think it was.
I was going to kind of push you up against that because you said it flopped. The movie didn't necessarily flop
Well,
in
it
itself,
actually did. It lost $500,000 at the
which
box
is
office.
bizarre because it was nominated for 5 Academy Awards that year,
Right.
but it won none.
Was it just like critically well received, but audiences didn't like
According
it?
to what I'm looking at, the FBI, they actually went and watched it.
Oh.
And hated it, but
The FBI.
The FBI. They have an article here that said the FBI went and watched it, and it was a tank.
It's like a
Cary Grant, like I said, was supposed to be the lead. Was George Bailey, but declined, and Jimmy Stewart took over. But yeah, and then they lost like $500,000 in the box office.
yikes.
So
What would a 500 like
back then, $500,000 would probably be.
Well, we looked at it a little bit earlier, but anyways, that quote is, "What do you want, Mary? What do you want? You want the moon? Just say the word, and I'll throw a lasso around it and pull it down."
That scene is like so smooth to me. I think a big
Very.
thing is just like even in the scene with Gower in the drugstore, like the acting to me is just
You really like George's character. I like young George. You like older George. Like,
yeah,
you really like George as a character.
absolutely.
But then, the fun ends all too soon, discovering that his father has a stroke.
yeah.
Eventually passes, and soon.
Ooh, talk about a favorite
So
scene.
just looking here to chime in, I'm just looking. It says the FBI considered the film to be a communist propaganda,
Oh man.
No way, really?
according to Southern Living.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Whoa,
So take it from that.
whoa, that's interesting.
I don't know how much propaganda is involved in this movie, but
Wow, maybe like thematically or something.
I don't know. I think this is when the kind of gets the Cold War went on. We don't do politics on this one, so
well, I'm gonna say that. Okay. Well, let's just and I'll throw something in there real quick, and then Zuzu.
Yeah.
I found the pedals. Daddy. Yeah. She was didn't see the movie until 1980.
No way.
The first time she ever saw the movie.
Would she have been like 40 years
She
old?
was probably 6 years old during the movie, and it just apparently in the interview they was just never interested in it. And then all of a sudden, the movie got really popular probably in the early 80s. I think because you guys are younger, and we started watching it, and like I said, Bonnie and myself, we never saw it until probably, after you guys were born. Mm-hmm. So. But it's kind of cool facts about that. There's a lot of facts about that movie that people really don't know.
But yeah, I mean, they are very interesting. Just how everything comes together, all these different. I like the aspect of like this part in time, like just where everything was at, and this, like what, the world was like in the moment when this had came out and everything. But George's father has a stroke, and then George, who had plans to. He had a big trip planned. He was going to go to Europe, and then come back.
Was
and
that like a pre-college hoorah?
He was gonna go to college. Yep, he was gonna go off to college.
Yeah, because he was like a week late at the time of the board meeting, I suppose.
No, he
And
was
then they
ready
have-
to go.
yeah.
I mean, he was
He
on
was-
his honeymoon in the car,
No,
leaving.
that's
Bedford.
not the part. That's not the part.
Okay.
That's not. Jeez. But
Man, are we gonna hit a clink anytime?
we need to get a clinky, and we've done it again.
Baby!
Clinky.
Sorry, guys. I don't know where you're.
Hey, you're killing it. Clinks. There it is.
We're not quite there yet. We will get there. But end up in a board meeting. Potter, of course, is trying to take over the family bank and loan. So he's kind of bad-mouthing George's father,
Yeah,
he
well,
calls him a bad businessman, which George agrees with in his own right, but then begins kind of questioning his character. And that's when George, maybe one of the best quotes of the movie, this might be my favorite. It's a long one, so stick with me. We're going to go through it all, but it deserves its time. George says, just a minute. Now hold on, Mr. Potter. You're right when you say my father was no businessman. I know that. Why he ever started this cheap penny ante building and loan, I'll never know. But neither you nor anyone else can say anything against his character, because his whole life was, why in the 25 years he and his brother, Uncle Billy, started this thing, he never once thought of himself. Isn't that right, Uncle Billy? He didn't save enough money to send Harry away to college, let alone me, but he did help a few people get out of your slums, Mr. Potter. And what's wrong with that? Why, here, you're all businessmen here. Doesn't it make them better citizens? Doesn't it make them better customers? You said, what'd you say a minute ago? They had to wait and save their money before they even ought to think of a decent home. Wait for what? Until their children grow up and leave them? Until they're so old and broken down that they... Do you know how long it takes a working man to save up $5,000? Just remember this, Mr. Potter. This rabble you're talking about, they do most of the working and paying and living and dying in this community. Well, is it too much to have them work and pay and live and die in a couple decent rooms and a bath? Anyway, my father didn't think so. People were human beings to him. But to you, a warped, frustrated old man, they're cattle. Well, in my book, my father died a much richer man than you'll ever be. Bam. And I love that quote so much because Mr. Potter is an absolute dickhead. He's exactly what, George is saying here. Just an old curmudgeon, hates life essentially. All he has is his business. And he points out that there's things that make you a lot richer in life than money. And he really shows him up in the whole class. And with that, essentially earns the board's vote, but on the case that he has to run the family bank and loan.
Yeah, well, that, again, the delivery of that monologue in the moment, it's just this moment, or this movie has so many moments where, I feel like, at least I personally am moved to some teary eyes.
Yeah, it's powerful.
Yeah, it's just so impactful. And, I think what's even cooler is in the moment, it's kind of he thinks he's already lost. The whole idea is that it's, the business is already going to get, I guess, shoveled into Potter. Yeah, and it's kind of just this last, hey, you know what, you can take this business from the family, you can do that in the, just in front of all these people, but I'm going to tell you what I think right now. And, it seems to actually do something because, like you said, that guy comes out of the meeting and says, hey, they were moved to vote against Potter's kind of thought on that.
Exactly. And another case of, I guess this is the first case of George getting stuck in town,
Ooh. Was there one before that? I can't remember.
Well, I think initially, what was it? Because he didn't go off to college right away. Yeah, I think this is the first part where it was really man,
that
you
just
gotta stick around.
That could be one of my favorite scenes.
He didn't go to college because his
no,
son,
that's what I mean. He hadn't
his
gone.
younger brother Harry.
That's where we're at. Yeah,
he stayed back and said,
that's where that's where he says it.
Put
right
my
there.
4 years in, Harry. When you're done serving in the Army, college, All-American football player, and come back and take my spot, and then I'll go away. But it did never happen.
Yep. Never happened, but in the while, I really like the next scene. That scene's kind of moved on at this point. When he gets married, I think that's really, it's great. You see him happy together, him and Mary finally. Oh, that whole scene of building up to him going back to visit Mary, and he's acting like he's too cool to be there. Yeah. You're like, dude, what are you doing, George? She obviously is infatuated with you, and you're not too cool to play it off like you aren't either. You know?
Again, like I was saying when you said last night, it's he knows he's gonna fall in love with her. There's this history.
He's gonna get stuck again.
Well, right. It's but I get for it. I love the part of the movie when George's mom pushes him to go walk to see Mary, who's home from college, and her.
That's what. Yeah.
Her so-to-be beau is in New York, Sam Wainwright. Hee-haw, hee-haw.
I actually really like Sam Wainwright. Even though he's a
goofball, he's kind of like a guy you're going to work for probably for the rest of your life. He's just one of those kind of dudes. But anyways.
It's a good way to say that.
The best part I like when George finally gets invited into the home at Mary's house. She's got the old cardboard painting of the lasso,
Yeah,
George
he
Lasso's
lassoed
The
the
Moon, and she puts on the Buffalo Girls record, and George's like, he's like, I don't want to be here, but he does.
He's so upset. He's like, "Who told you I was gonna be
I'm
here?
not coming here. And
Who
his
told
mom,
you?"
his mom's up there bitching about, get your ass out of the house.
Yeah.
Do you guys think the mom's really weird in that scene? I
Yeah,
think
that
the
mom
is
stinks.
so
That
weird.
mom
It's like,
stinks. On the other hand, George's mom is a beautiful lady throughout the
beautiful.
film. She's great.
But Mary's mom, she's just like wanting her to get her married for the dollar, right?
No doubt.
Oh,
That's
oh,
definitely. Yeah,
there
she's
it
like,
is.
it's like
That's the peak-
Sam's on the phone.
That's the
Right,
peak
so-
behind right there.
But the
That's
best part of the
great.
scene for me, I love it, and it's when Sam calls and her mom's freaking out upstairs. And they're like on the phone, and and Sam wants to speak, and he's going hee haw, whatever.
He's doing
I
his
got all
thing.
this investments you can do, and George is looking at Mary, and he does not whatsoever want to get in because he wants to get out of Bedford Falls,
Exactly, and he knows.
and
if
he knows if he falls in love with Mary, he's going to stay there for the rest of his life.
it was inevitable.
They look at each other
Inevitable.
and they're
Inevitable.
talking on the phone. They're talking on the phone with Sam, and then they're just like, Sam's gone, and there's like a big embrace and a big kiss, and that's just
What is the tension of that moment? There is. I thought for 1946 that was like soft.
Well, even before that, he was like, he's making violent love to, or what
I
is
know,
it?
yeah. Mother.
Yeah.
Mary, what are you doing down there? George is making violent love to me down here, mother.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
really
that
went
was-
for it.
Right.
That was a little risque in the time, no doubt.
But I really like that point in the movie because it shows George's true love for
Oh, and
the
he
woman he
just-
wants to fall in love with, knowing that he's up against,
Yeah.
Sam Wainwright, who's got all the money, but it doesn't matter to him.
Well, I think a great aspect of it is that not only does he, he's in love with her, obviously. It's not like and that's what's bothering him is because he is. And he knows that if he makes this decision to fall in love with her and pursue a life with her, his also love that he's been plagued with of getting out of Bedford Falls is a dream that he's essentially going to have to give up at that point. It's
Right,
one or
exactly.
the other.
It's a decision.
And you
gotta
feel
make,
you
and-
feel that tension. You feel that tension that he's just like he's almost angry that he loves her, but
The
it's
setup,
so
that's-
beautiful.
The way that the scenes work together to get you to that feeling, it's brilliant.
Yeah.
I mean, it is so well done.
Yeah. But anyways, they get married. They're trying to leave from the honeymoon, and here it is again. You're not getting out, Georgie.
Was that something that Potter did? Did that happen on purpose? I forget.
Well, there was a run in the bank. I don't know. He was
Remember
basically
there's
just.
that scene where like that guy is like you can see like he's in Potter's office though, and it seems like Potter might.
I think they were like.
I don't think it was a Potter kind of thing. I think that's something kind of fell in his lap. That
Yeah.
he
There was like a call
took
on the
advantage
loans or
of.
something.
It was just
And to
depression.
remain-
It was in that time of the year where things were just going. Didn't know where it was going. So I don't think Potter had anything, but he took advantage of the situation.
He was
Circumstances.
he was in a much better position to remain alive in that circumstance because he owned everything except for the bank and loan, and they're fending for themselves. He has amassed all this wealth. He was in a position to weather the storm where the family bank and loan was not by any means. So George sees this, gets out of the car, goes back to the bank, and essentially gives away all their honeymoon, or does, except for $2.
Well, Mary steps up to do that.
$8,000 is what they had. $8,000.
$8,000, and if you median and payment, $2,500. That's your so that's a year's worth of work right there.
Yeah. Wow.
And then they do their little honeymoon in their new house, and it's or their soon-to-be house.
That's sweet.
They'll-
And Mary makes all of that happen. Because I love that scene where George is like, oh my God, I'm married. And then they're like, oh, should I call Miss Bailey? He's like, what? No, I want to talk to my wife. Oh, that is
Miss
my
Bailey.
wife.
Yeah.
So, just to clear up something that I don't know if some of you know, but the characters Bert and Ernie, the policeman and the taxi driver in the movie, it has always been the same that they were named or the characters Bert and Ernie on Sesame Street were named after those characters. not true.
Yeah,
Just to clear that out.
Yeah,
Not true.
Sesame Street came out with a statement saying it was only coincidental.
Right. Just
Do we believe them or do we not? I don't.
I don't know if I believe him.
I don't believe you,
But
Sesame Street, you
Bert and
scumbag.
Ernie, Bert and Ernie in It's a Wonderful Life are great characters, by the way.
Love
They're
them.
so good.
They're awesome, man.
We'll get into
I was
them.
about to say, if we're getting into Six Men, we'll just put them down as an early name.
And then I guess the whole last bit of the movie is pretty much it's a scene in itself, you know.
It's like 30 minutes of just, I love this. I mean, it's just.
Well, he has the $8,000 goes missing, as we previously kind of touched on, and he realizes he's going to jail. He's just completely out of it. He's done and out. He's down and out. You know,
Yeah.
he goes
hope.
to a bar by himself. He's contemplating it. You can tell. You know, he's struggling with this thought he has.
Martini tries to hold it back.
It's
He
just
can't even
like
hold it
going back into your life where it was erased after 24 hours and nobody knows you.
That's not where we're at.
No, but I'm saying you just go to a bar and you think you know somebody there and they don't know you. And you go to your wife's house.
We're not there yet, Dad. We're not there yet.
Okay.
We're at when he had first gone there and they did still know him and he's contemplating this thought of, God, we're trying, people. We're trying to. All you all listen right now. We're trying. We'll get there one way or the other. So he's at the bar. He's down and out and ends up driving away, crashing into a tree, and finds himself on a bridge where we meet Clarence. Tier 2 angel. Jumps into the
I thought it
water.
was second class. Yeah.
Second class, tier 2,
class.
same deal.
Sorry, guys, I jumped ahead.
And he wishes he was never born. Where we then go through the whole episode of seeing every person that he has touched and contributed to their lives in such a powerful way, which, you know, George is going crazy. He doesn't believe it happened at first. Of course, why would he? You know, a guardian angel. But he soon comes to the realization that, like, yeah, no one knows me.
I love how Clarence is just so upfront the whole time. Even when he's like, I guess his clothes are magically dry or whatever, he's just like, well, I jumped in to save you. You know,
Yeah.
he's so like on the table.
He's not
about
hiding it
everything.
from anyone else either.
Not
Like
at
the
all.
citizens he comes upon, he's like, I'm an angel. Like he doesn't that one guy's freaking out. He's dipping and he can't even get his dip out. He can't even get his spit out because he keeps basically like double taking after he says something. But so that whole aspect is, you know, wild to think because you see the things like, oh, your brother died because you weren't there to save him in the ice. Oh, you weren't working at Mr. Gower's place, so he's a drunk and killed kids, basically, you know. And there's more, of course. Mary never married.
Yeah.
Potter's taken over the whole entire town.
Yeah. Potterville, is that what it's called?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, and I guess the big domino, the biggest like kind of butterfly effect one you see is the deal about him saving Harry, because Harry's a war veteran. He saved a bunch of people on a cargo ship by shooting down some fighter planes. Harry wasn't there to do that. So not only does Harry die through the ice, but every person on that cargo ship died as well instead of being saved. So just he really gets an understanding of how great his life has been and ends up getting to a point where he's just like, please take me back. Like, make it so that I lived, you know, basically. He's on a bridge. A car rolls up and it's Bert, the cop. And he asks him, he says, one sec. He goes, why's your mouth bleeding, basically, essentially? And it takes George a second or so. But he's like, my mouth's bleeding. Bert! My mouth's bleeding! He goes crazy because he realizes that...
You got him.
I feel like the Bert was good. I messed up on the rest of it. But he realizes that he's
He
back.
is
He's back.
He's cracking out. He's like,
Yeah.
"Ow,
Yeah.
Bedford Falls!
Yeah,
the
he-
old bacon loaf!"
And that's kind of the last scene where he's revived. He's back to life, and he's just so appreciative of everything. He knows he's going to jail. Fuck it, I don't care.
Yeah, I
you
don't
know,
care.
he's so happy to have lived, And he gets an appreciation, just the truest
That,
appreciation
like,
for how much he
childlike
is
joy, yeah.
He is jubilant, he's jumping around the town, screaming like hello to every building there is.
The thing that gets me is like you kind of, when you're seeing him do that, realize you have the option to feel that way at any point of the day. Mm-hmm. We could be here. We're here by, like, I love you guys. We're doing this right now. We're right here.
Right. He's just so happy to be alive and back in the situation of the present where he was taken.
Well, it's so easy to take things for granted and to feel like you haven't amassed anything. You don't contribute to anyone else's lives. It's easy to get into that kind of headspace to where you don't feel the significance that you have on everyone. And it doesn't have to be anything special. Was George's life extravagant? Did he travel around the world? Did he start businesses? Did he build? He wanted to build all kinds of things. No, he didn't do that. But in his own right, his simple life was a wonderful one.
Yeah.
And he completely lost sight of that.
Magic.
And finally getting that reality check to like, wow, like everything I've done, I'm so happy for. I love my family. I love this town that I've hated so much my whole entire life, that I've been shackled by, that's held me back from achieving of everything I wanted. He's so grateful for it and everything that he's accomplished. And he just gets that streamlined appreciation for everything that he has contributed to throughout his life. And I think he goes home then, he knows he's going to jail. He doesn't care. He greets the tax collectors, he greets them. He says, I don't care, basically. Yeah. He's like, I know I'm going to jail. I bet that's an arrest warrant and you're about to give to me. Yeah. He just wants to see his family, and it's so beautiful to see him, because he treated him so poorly on the last time we see him together, and he was the disheveled, broken man, really, and he's got this new lease on life and appreciation for how much it means to him. And it's beautiful to see not only him embrace his family again, because he's so happy to have them, but then to see all the people he has helped throughout his life come back to help him. And that's the moment in the movie where, tears kind of, they start welling up. You get that warm feeling in your body. Just talking about it right now, there's goosebumps because, you see everyone that he's had the most minute, apparently, impact on, but he's changed these people's lives for the better. And
so quickly, even like his Uncle Billy comes and he said, they didn't ask. They heard you were in trouble. They didn't ask. They started giving money out right away. It's just like, whoa. I don't know. I think it just has like this very powerful, like, I don't know. Maybe you don't have to think so deeply into some things. You just kind of, some things just are what they are. And connections are a very real thing that, matter a whole lot more than maybe going to Europe and doing something on that level.
It's just so impactful and powerful that all these people come and like second notice, not even a second notice, just snap of a finger, they're there. They're like, how can we help? Because this guy, he's a great guy. He's a stand-up guy.
And I mean, I think it's important too. I mean, with the bank and loan, the type of help that he was given to people. I think there's a townsman who kind of says, you put a roof over my head. If not for you, I wouldn't be able to live in a home.
Right.
And that type of effect, what is it, like Bailey Park that they've created? Just all of it's kind of that weird, like all of this maybe generosity that George Bailey has given to this town throughout his life is just so quickly returned. Yeah. In that moment, once he needs it as well. It's just kind of super, super affirming, I would think.
Yeah, it's a beautiful scene. I really love that one. So we've covered a few scenes. Now I guess let's break down, or just not break down, but if you have to choose one, there's one scene in the whole movie. Which one's yours? Well, we'll start with you, Griff.
Oh, man. I was hoping you wouldn't start with me.
I'm starting with you.
Favorite scene for me? Wow. The end is so beautiful, but I actually don't want to say the end. Wow, that's really tough. I think, wow, I'm kind of struggling. I think it would either for me be when George is in Mary's home and he's doing that thing and then he breaks down. It's like, oh God, next scene is literally them after their wedding.
Yeah.
I think that could be, I'll say a scene that is brilliant that we haven't talked about is when George is at the dinner table with his dad and talking to him. Mm-hmm. And you kind of just, to me, it kind of reminded me of talking to my own dad and this kind of like maybe this perception that you know more than your dad, which I'm sure on some things you could, but I love how George's dad in these moments just kind of lets him have those thoughts. Mm-hmm. And you can tell there's more going on beyond his dad's head. Like, I even like, as the scene's beginning, the mom's like, oh, quit making racket up there, George and his brother. And he's like, I wish I were there. Let him do it. Mm-hmm. And I think that, to me, just kind of is pretty powerful to see the father literally say, hey, George, would you mind, taking over the banking loan for me?
Yeah.
George is like, honestly, I don't want to do it. And the dad's like, I got you. Okay.
Yeah.
That's just like a really powerful scene to me.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a sleeper.
Yeah. Like a small scene, kind of cut scene thing.
Yeah.
So what about you, Dad? What's your favorite?
No, excellent point transitioning into this. Griff, just to touch on what you said. I mean, being a parent, with Austin, our son, and you, my nephew, and I consider you my son too. A lot of things we say, you guys kind of blow off sometimes, but as you get older, Bonnie and I are like appreciative of things like, oh, okay, maybe they were right in this. It's just really great to understand that you guys are kind of feeling some things were, not all the time, but saying that you guys appreciate and respect. But it's really cool. But one of the main lines I get from this movie is at kind of the end where the bell rings and George gets the book and he looks into it. And there's a quote in there by Clarence that says, Dear George, remember no man is a failure who has friends. Thanks for the wings. Love you, Clarence. When I hear that every time, I just get goosebumps. And, sometimes it really, you get a little, I'm sorry, a tear to your eye because I love this movie. And it's just such a good, feel-good movie that part of the movie is really special to us.
Yeah.
So I guess that's is that your favorite scene there?
Yeah, that's my favorite scene.
Well, what a beautiful idea. Yeah. Seriously.
And Clarence, we didn't talk a lot about Clarence, but he's the one that guided George through.
We'll get into the characters next. Just a little bit.
So,
just some of your favorite characters.
But that's my favorite part.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Yeah. Well, that's a good one.
I think my favorite part's just that jubilation he feels, immediately realizing he's back in the real world and just the clarity that comes with it, that he's like, wow, I am so joyous to be here, wow. And just doesn't care what happens to him. He's done everything.
Same energy as like Scrooge getting out, that, oh my God, I'm alive.
That new lease on life,
Scrooge, y'all gotta be over a Scrooge podcast here.
Mouse bleeding
all over this. You guys don't even know.
Yeah. All right, so that's my favorite scene. Now let's move on to MVP of the movie. Who's your favorite character in this one?
Oh.
Who do you care for the most?
Is it me again?
I guess I'll start this one.
Start that one, yeah.
It's got to be George for me. I just love seeing the transition. I guess that's kind of a cop-out in some sense that it's the main character of the movie, but the transition of it, the acting he does in it, Jimmy Stewart, just great all the way around. And there's definitely a point to be made with Clarence. Maybe he's the real MVP because he makes this clarity possible, He brings it to light.
Yeah, lots of class, though. Like you said, it is so easy to fall in love with George Bailey. Even it's beautiful because there are like tremendous flaws you see throughout the movie, like the way he treats Mary in that scene, the way he treats his family.
Yep.
But I swear, I think it just kind of reminds you of maybe those moments in your own life. Because even you see when he has he kind of has that little lashing out, and everyone's just so quiet. And it's like that weird elephant in the room moment where it's like, oh, I just messed up really bad.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see he wants to fix it, but he just doesn't know how to.
Yeah.
And instead of like being able to fix it in that moment, you almost just have to walk away.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I don't know, that's such a likable guy. So it's hard to like have another MVP.
Yeah.
Dan George, man, just for the fun of it, I think that someone more of a sixth man, but
Yeah.
Uncle Billy, man.
I was in this
Love
in the
Uncle Billy.
the next category,
Oh.
6-man/woman.
I'll
of the
say
movie.
my MVP is Gower.
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 Okay.
Gower's my MVP because I think there's that really intense scene at the beginning, of course,
Mm-hmm.
where he does like I guess you would call that he hits him. That's
Yeah.
It is what it is, but from that point forward, you just see Gower. He gives him the briefcase, picked it out himself. He has like a huge thing of money at the very end that he gives out.
Yeah.
It's kind of just, I
like
think
Gower.
that's really
I think that's a fun
powerful.
pick. What about you, Pops?
You know, there's a toss-up. I mean, but where I am today, I'm going to have to stay. I'm going with Mary.
Mary.
Ooh.
That's a good one.
Good choice.
Yeah, she always believed in her husband, always believed in her family,
Mm-hmm.
always believed that she could get them through and be supportive of whatever tragedies that were going on. And that's what makes things go on today.
I wish we got to see more of Mary.
Whoa.
Really, you know.
If
Because
you
she
don't
even
ha-
behind the scenes made the whole town bring the
right.
money in.
If you don't have a supporting cast, and you guys will find this out in your life going forward, a supporting, lovable wife that will support you through thick and thin when times are bad, when times are good. She never questioned it. Her love was for George, and Mary's mine.
Very pretty. Very
Whoa.
pretty.
Yep.
So on to the 6th-man/woman of the movie, which is, you know, not the MVP but a role player that you just love. And this one is difficult because there's so many likable characters in this movie. I was going through just kind of the cast list. You have, I mean, Mary she's not really sixth, I would say.
Yeah.
Billy, he's pretty integral in the movie as well. So I think those work for MVP votes, no
Okay.
doubt. Clarence, but Mrs. Bailey, incredibly sweet.
Oh, yeah.
Bert, you love Bert the cop.
Mm-hmm.
Ernie, you know, the cab driver, always his friend. Even Violet, you know, the kind of skanky old girl. But like, if we're being like, she's
Dang,
very.
he threw it out like that.
She's very likable, though. You know, she never like crosses the line to a point where you're like, oh God, she's a problem.
George
But,
would have
like,
gave her 5 more licorice stickers at the shop.
but you know, you have Mr. Gower, you have Harry, Pa Bailey, great character for
Pa
however
Bailey.
short he's in there.
Pa Bailey.
That's what like they're.
Man, I feel like Uncle Billy could definitely be a 6-man.
Yeah, he's a 6-man. He's a role player.
He's just so funny to me.
Man, he was almost the
You see him
reason.
dancing, and he's just. I think it's so great because, like, man, he's a bumbler. He bumbles. I mean,
Yeah, he wears rope around his fingers to remember things.
he is a bumbler, but like at the end of the day, he's the one carrying the big thing. He lost the money.
Yep.
And what'd he do? He's the guy dumping it out on the table at the end. He was there. He didn't give up.
Yeah.
He hung in.
I think mine's Ernie. I always love seeing Ernie
Ernie.
come on. You know,
Yeah.
he's always there to drive the car. He's just a good friend. It's like him and Bert are like George's best friends, you know, in a way, almost throughout the movie. Those are his friends in the movie. So I'm going with Ernie.
All right.
Favorite.
Well, I went with Mary for my, I guess, the foundation that we talked about. But The Rock, I'm going with George's dad.
Okay, that's very good.
His dad is everything I see in my dad right now. And just throwing it out there, here's what it is. Hey, if you don't like it, I love you. Go do what you need to do. But I kind of want you to do this kind of thing. But no, he's my guy. He's a hell of a guy. Yeah, and my dad's just like him.
Yeah. Well,
Whoa.
well, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. You know, Pa Bailey's a great guy. George stands up for him and tells him all the great, like when he stands up to Potter, tells of all the great things he's done. He's never thought about himself the whole time. And the thing is, that's exactly what George does throughout the whole thing. It's just a lineation. It's a passing on of those values, those core values, which is really cool to see. And it's everyone who George is. He gets to a point where he, you know, feels bad because I guess he hasn't done anything for himself. He doesn't feel like he's done anything, but it's the best thing is he's done so much for everyone else.
It's kind of that like blindness of maybe, I don't know, there's a better way to say it than what I'm about to, but it kind of seems like sometimes you don't realize that the story that you're playing out is your story. Maybe the story you imagined is not exactly what has happened, but regardless, it is your story. Whatever is going on is what you've done, and you know why should there be any shame about something like that? You know, I think that's maybe the takeaway message for me. It just we're all doing it.
Yeah. There's no bad picks for sixth man in the movie because it could be that. Like I said, it could have been any one of them throughout that list. They're all incredibly likable characters, and they all play their own part in their own way in George's lives and how he's contributed to theirs as well.
No, and I just like to add to it, if anyone out there hasn't seen this movie, I know you guys are a younger kind of crowd.
Yeah.
Please watch the movie. I mean,
Yeah.
just take a weekend. I mean, get a bottle of wine and sit down and get a nice fire going and watch it, because you will truly be blessed by what you watch, because it is such a good movie. We don't have a lot of good movies like this today, but this one touches our family and has throughout the years, and I encourage you, and I hope you will watch it just at least one time, just to
It's like a hearty soup of a
Yeah.
movie, you know. It's like
some
one of
chunky
the-
noodle
yes,
soup,
you
baby.
Feel good eating that stuff, man.
Yeah. Grow big and strong watching this movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a great one.
Man,
It's any list you look up for top
do
Christmas
we have
movies.
to talk about Potter more? Like, we've been talking about all the good, and like, man, Potter.
Well, we got it with that quote a bit. You know, he's
That's
just a broken
true.
old.
I think everybody knows who
Right.
Potter is.
Yeah.
Someone who is experiencing every day in our life. Well, we go
some
through.
extent,
So
yeah.
let's just end
Wow.
it on a good feeling.
Yeah.
Bringing
Well, we're
Potter.
not
like
not
that.
done yet.
I
we're
like
actually
that.
about. We
Well,
will talk
can
about
touch
Potter
on
a
it,
little
but
bit there.
my-
We'll
my
talk a
language
little bit.
may get a little bit more a little unconventional.
Yeah.
We'll talk a little bit about Potter here.
Get my beats going.
So what's the next category here is the quote of the movie. What's your quote of the movie? Mine, we've already gone over it. I've read it out because of the power within those words that George lets out in a moment of just pure, genuine. I mean, he's got to feel anger. He's got to feel love at the same time for his father and proud of all he's done. And to see someone like Potter, a measly old, crotchety old man, you know, who doesn't, you know, the values of family and giving to others don't exist in his world. But to see Potter come at his father, who he respects so greatly, you know, in everything he's done. I love that quote. So that's mine, no doubt. There's some other good ones in there. You know, you got Every Time a Bell Rings, an Angel Gets Its Wings. There's a lot of great ones in there. What's yours, Griff?
Whoa, it's got to be a Clarence quote. I think Clarence has some like I love when the stars are talking. There's that moment. He's like, well, he has the IQ of a rabbit, but the faith of a child.
Yeah.
And I think that's so true because it's probably something along the lines of when Clarence is just like, man, no one knew you. You really didn't realize. I don't know if he says how wonderful of a life you had.
You see, George, you've really had a wonderful life. Don't you see what a mistake it would be just to throw it away?
Wow.
There it is.
That might be. I think that I'll say another, maybe another just like more unconventional quote. I think the way that I guess Donna Reed, who is Mary in the movie, says when they're talking about when she first gets pregnant, she kind of looks at him in this funny way. She says, "George Lasso's stork." That's like how she says it.
Yeah,
And
that's
like
goofy.
when she says it, it's like so cute, and it's like, oh my gosh, it was just a great performance of it.
What she also says, she's like, I wanted my babies to look like you, or I wanted my
Yeah.
baby to look like you.
Yeah, it was like that moment.
Very
for
pretty,
me,
very
Yeah, it
cute.
was like, whoa. It
I
was
wish we
great
would. That's one
performance.
thing I guess I could nitpick. I wish I got to see a little bit more of their story together. I would like to see that a bit. I guess you see it, but you see it through different facets of life and different timelines. So you see them young as kids, you see them kind of middle aged in between the high school years and college, and then you see them married. I would like to see a little more of their married life. You know,
Yeah, it
that
kind of
relationship.
like presents it as if there's just this like natural fire between them, and
But
it's
yeah,
just, it is what it is.
I mean, from when she said it in the drug shop, you know, I'll love you till the day I die.
Yeah.
It was destined, you know. There was no other option. They were falling in love. That was it. What's your quote, Dad? I think you pretty much said yours, you know.
Well, yeah.
Remember, George, no man is a failure who has friends.
Right.
I don't want to put it in your mouth, but I think that's
Kind
that's
of
the one.
repeated what I said. I just want to, say that. I mean, Clarence and George are kind of characters of us just getting through every day, and we all want to make the best of our lives. But like you said, yeah, that's my quote. I mean, I love that quote.
Yeah, Clarence wanted those wings.
Right, and I'm going to say it again that, remember, no man is a failure who has friends. And we all, even this today, you want friends. And it just makes you happy and just the support you get from them. So,
If we're gonna go real large scale, you know, the meaning of life is the relationships that you make throughout it and the impacts you have on those lives. I think that's there's more to it, of course, but I think that's a good way to summarize. I don't think you're gonna have a bad life by any means if you can accomplish those things, you know. So, on to the vibe check. This is where we kind of touch on the whole setting, the tone, the mood, the feel. And I think the biggest thing to look at here that I brought up at least is just the actual age of the movie. You know, you see old phones, you see the way that people are dressing, and the finger string reminders. You don't have reminders or notifications on your phone or anything, but there's records playing and everything. So it adds to the whole romance of the story, which I think benefits the story in itself. So if this movie's made today, I don't think in this setting today it necessarily hits as hard. I think it's a little different. I think you could remake it, but I think seeing this movie with cell phones just changes, like cell phones and things like that. Just the setting and time difference would completely change the mood and the feel of the story. I think there's something that's so much more romantic about the story and powerful because of the age to it and just kind of how it's shot. You know, it's a black and white movie.
Well, I was supposed to say, I don't even know if this might just be a me thing, but I almost tend to have a kind of deference to maybe older media.
Exactly.
It's kind of easier to believe. It's kind of, it hits that type of thing. It's like, man, this has been hanging around for, I guess at this point, almost 80 years. And to me, when I'm watching, it's like, I'm going to listen to what they're saying and what type of message they're pushing out. And like you said, I think it being an older movie and all of those different qualities showing that just add to the feeling of this one and really, really work in a super charming type of way. So the vibe check to me, everything from the record players and the old music, the big band type of
Also
attitude.
the dialogue. I didn't really say anything about that, but like just the way people speak. It's
Uncle Bruce, you said something about Ernie in the car being like, see, I forget what he said, but just exactly like the language.
Oh, it's just the language. Like, hey, we're going there. See, we're going there. See,
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
going to see. But I mean, it's just the dialogue. I mean, I just wish, I would hope that your generation, not throwing it back there, but we'll just like go back and watch some of these old movies. Because this movie, like I said earlier, lost $10,000, which is a big chunk of change. Back in the days, it lost it. I mean, it was, but today it's probably one of the most popular movies.
right. It's a
that's
big one.
playing right now that people watch.
Well, Christmas movies, no doubt.
And it's a good feeling movie. It's just good. It's just good to have good stuff and good vibes going on in this age and time that we all long for. That, and it's not a perfect world out there. I mean, George.
Nope,
you know,
and it
the
never
whole
will
thing,
be.
he'll-
Never
he-
was, never will be. You
He's
know?
struggling, but it's just the support and the love and the family, which I think our generation is losing in family.
There's an aspect to
sad.
that, no doubt.
That I would love that just keeps things moving up. And
I know for sure as, through your teenage years, I think it's a thing that about growing up, a big change starts to happen as you get older. You know, you get into college, you move out, you get some distance from your parents and your family and things like that, and you begin to get that longing to be with them again, and you get the appreciation for the time you spend with them. And that's something that this movie really, brings to light and emulates, in that we do cherish family. You know, you start with family's your only thing, and then you start getting a little more independent. You move into high school, you butt heads and things like that.
well, it's one of those movies like so many other movies, and this one, and I'm saying It's a Wonderful Life and Scrooge, that we have in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles that we've done since you guys have been born. That you guys still look forward to coming over to watch. It's a tradition, but I think that stuff is sadly kind of fading away in families. But we're not going to let that fade away, because this is what we do every year, and we see you guys enjoy that and embrace it, and you have a good time and you look forward to it.
Yeah.
And it's harder when you guys get older, but you always make a point to come back to the home base.
Yeah.
Whether it's here or your mom and dad's parents, and we do it. And that's one thing that we're focused on, that we love, that keeps the tradition and the spirit of these movies and the good feeling and the vibe, and that all can be good going on. So that's what makes us happy.
Yeah.
So,
Well, all right.
Wow.
Good vibes for sure.
right.
Moving on to the next category. Closing in on the end of this one. But the Rotten Tomatoes score, this is a fun one to look at. What's the score? And Dad, if you're not familiar with it, it's a score out of 1 out of 100. Rotten Tomatoes is basically a site that rates movies, and they notoriously are not, they don't always give you the best ranking of a movie. You can trust it for what it is, but I think it's kind of funny to look at what they might have ranked it. So let's see what you think.
Am I basing this
1 out of
on
100. Pick a number.
what I
1
think they would do or what I would do?
Just say what you think they
So
would.
100 is the best
Correct.
and 0 is the least.
That's how it works.
It's a Wonderful Life.
Yep.
I'm gonna give it a 90, because I think this is some movie that someone should always watch with their family.
Yep.
Because there's nothing but good about the movie. And if you're gonna rate that below that, no, so be it. But
Well, there's rankings of, like if they
But I
just
know.
if they
I
didn't
mean,
if they
but I don't
didn't
know what
achieve the
I don't know what their criteria is. Oh, that's bad acting. The snowflakes were cornflakes, and they're like
Yeah, that's what I mean.
melting,
Like
so
if they
it's-
if they didn't do a good job telling the
but
story,
the
that's
story,
what would
the
fault.
meaning, and the story they're trying to put forth. I'm getting 90%, 95, maybe 100, but 90.
90's what you're locking in. You
Yeah.
Griff, what you want?
Yeah, and is this like Rotten Tomatoes like estimates, or are we just giving personal rankings now?
No, this is what you think they ranked it
Oh,
essentially.
well, since it bombed, I'm thinking they went 20 to 30,
Oh man.
which
Griff.
I hate to say. Am I crazy off?
I mean, I already know it. It was 94, so you're quite off.
Whoa.
94. They
Oh,
love this
gotcha.
movie. This
Is Rotten
movie
Is Rotten Tomatoes like an accumulation of like critiques from back in the day, or just
No, I think there's like critic.
gotcha.
I think there's like critic rankings for what, and then there's also an audience score. So let's look at that. What do we think the audience score is going to be? I don't know this one, so I guess I'll go with a 98 for the audience score.
Ooh, I'd say 95 audience score.
You?
The audience score?
The audience score. Basically, there's two different ones.
The audience rating?
Yes.
52.
95.
Oh wow!
Why'd you do 52?
Well, because it got such bad.
I think I threw
it
him
got
off.
such
I threw
bad.
him off.
Okay.
Yeah.
It got
Well,
such bad reviews.
that was a
they
bombed
lost.
category.
I mean, they
but,
lost $10,000 at the box
Yeah,
office.
I was
mean,
messed up too. I was thinking it was from like
So-
the original release. What people
Yeah.
thought.
Well, maybe, next time we'll have a better understanding. Anyways, last category here, and this is how we're going to kind of conclude this. Where's this movie rank ballpark on your favorite movies of all time? Not just Christmas movies, but favorite movies as a whole of all time.
I think for me personally, again, I only started watching this movie like 3 years ago, realistically. So just gut situations. There are all kinds of movies that I've known since my childhood that I would, just like instinctually be like, that movie is like more toward my top, maybe. But I do definitely think like this movie is creeping into becoming one of those that I am again excited to see every year, and forming those traditions of watching it around either Christmas Eve or Christmas Day.
Yeah.
Becoming very powerful for me. I'd have no problem saying within the top 10 for me.
You, Dad?
This movie is special to us as a family. Me and your mom, Bonnie. There's two movies that I will, if I saw a desert island, I could watch two movies the rest of my life. It would be Scrooge, 1970s, Albert Finney, and It's a Wonderful Life.
So 2 Christmas movies are your island
And
movies.
Wow.
they're like 1-in-1 because these movies are just they give us such an emotional hope for life.
Yeah.
And I love them.
That's pretty.
So that's where it is. 1 and 2. I'm gonna go 1 and 2. I'm gonna go 1-in-1 Scrooge, and It's a Wonderful Life because there's not movies like this anymore, and I cherish them every year. Of you guys coming over and watching with us like a tradition we've done, and that's where it is. 1 and 2, Scrooge, and It's a Wonderful Life.
I'm going to go, I have no problem putting it top 10 for me. Like Dad said, the emotion that comes with this movie, which is ultimately what any kind of art form is supposed to do, it takes you to that. You feel the emotional tie. You feel joyous along with George as he comes back to the real world and realizes it's such a wonderful life that he has lived. And that feeling sticks with you. Maybe it fades after a while. Like, you get a little bit removed from watching the movie, but every time you watch it again, you get that just innate feeling of absolute joy and happy for the life that you're living yourself. So I think it's a beautiful film. I think it's easily in my top 10, regardless of the aspect of it being a Christmas movie. And like I said before, it's not necessarily a Christmas movie as just a movie that occurs alongside Christmas in its timeline. It's just a beautiful movie, period. So,
But just like Austin said, I mean, like you said, It's a Wonderful Life. We've been blessed, and It's a Wonderful Life that we've had with you guys over the years, and really nice that you guys come up and say, "Hey, when are we gonna watch, Scrooge? It's a Wonderful Life."
right.
Planes, trains, automobiles. I gotta throw that out there. But yeah, that's what makes us happy. And yes, it's truly It's a Wonderful Life. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Yep. Merry Christmas, everyone at home. That puts it into the categories. It's been a great time on here. I've enjoyed this very much. It's been very fun to dissect this movie, a movie we all love so much. I'm going to let you say your goodbye first here.
Yes, I just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas. And yes, I'm saying Merry Christmas. And love and hug those ones out to you that are close to you. And give them a big hug and wish them a Merry Christmas. Because sometimes when you wake up, it might not be there anymore. Hug them. Love them. Love you guys. Merry Christmas.
Beautiful. Griffey, you're up next, bud.
Yeah. Wow. Well, this has been awesome. Purple Podcast, episode 8. I'm having so much fun being here. Sorry if I just took some thunder at the end right there. I'm sorry. I didn't know if you were gonna say it again. It's been the 8th episode, but
No.
it's been awesome. I've had so much fun, and I think I have the same feeling. I guess you walk away from that movie, like you said, just appreciating what you have, and I think. Since seeing that movie last night, I've had a really good appreciation for what I have. And I can agree that life is wonderful and something to just feel blessed for. So, super happy to be here. Love you, Austin. Love you, Uncle Bruce.
Merry Christmas, bud. Love you, man.
Merry Christmas, yeah. But thanks for having me on, Austin.
Well, thank you both for coming on here. Like I said before, it's been incredibly fun. This movie is one that's, it's never going to get old. It's going to keep going on, and it's going to keep reminding us every year that it truly is a wonderful life that we live. With that being said, that's it for the 8th episode of the Purple Podcast. See y'all soon. Love y'all at home as well. Thank you for listening. Merry Christmas.